Okay, so like if there's a list for like top 3 pettiest things I've ever done in my life, this would probably be number one. So today's story time all takes place back in 2017. I was staying out in LA. I was living out there pretty much full time at this point. I had a good group of friends out there. Things were going really good. I really didn't have any complaints. Things were good. Now this story starts off like any other story. It was just a regular day/evening in LA. I was sitting in my room watching a YouTube video. I had plans later this night to go to my friend's house. We'll just call his friend like Jake, okay? I had plans to go to Jake's house later that night, and we were literally just going to be hanging out at his house, just kicking it. It wasn't going to be a party. It wasn't going to be anything crazy. It was just going to be me, Jake, and like 2 others. So later on that night, I went to Jake's house. I met them there. We kicked it at Jake's house for like, I don't know, an hour. And after an hour, we realized how boring this was, and we wanted to go out and do something more. So at this point, everybody starts throwing ideas out. I wanted to just go down to the boulevard and walk around and try and find like a cool spot to eat or like a bar or something. My other homie wanted to go to a club, and then my other friend wanted to go to a bar as well. So it was kind of split down the middle. We had one friend left that was kind of the deciding factor, and eventually he decided, let's just go to the club. So that's what we did. We went to the club. And I'm not really a big club guy to begin with. I don't really like that you can't hear who you're talking to. And I know like that's not really the point of a club. You're not supposed to have conversations that are like very normal volume. Usually you're there to dance and listen to loud ass bass music. But like, I don't know, it just overwhelmed me. So anyway, we all jumped in Jake's car, went to the club, got there. We were there for about, I don't know, an hour and a half. And I'm going to be honest, it was actually really, really fun. I ended up meeting this girl there. We'll just call her Katie, okay? I met this girl named Katie. She happened to be sitting in the section that was like right next to us. So like her friends and me and our friends were all just kind of talking to each other, getting to know each other. And we ended up kind of forming this big group in both sections, right? And they're all really chill. Like everybody in that group was super cool. Katie was super cool. It felt like she was kind of into me, which was also pretty cool. Everything was going good, right? Now at the end of the night, I ended up getting Katie's number because she seemed very cool and she was a cute girl. So I asked her for her number and she was like, yeah, for sure. And she gave it to me. And we had plans to hang out in a few days. So after this, I said goodbye to Katie and her friends. My friends said goodbye as well. And we start leaving the club. Now, as I'm walking out the main door to the club, I bump into this guy, like shoulder to shoulder. We bump into each other. And it wasn't on purpose. It was a total accident. It was just really cramped in there and I had to squeeze through. And he turns his head and he looks at me and he gives me this look of like hatred. And he mouths the words, "Fuck you." To which I just shrugged my shoulders and kept walking. And then as I'm walking away, he puts his hand on my shoulder and turns me around and starts screaming. He goes, "I wasn't done talking to you. How about you fucking say excuse me?" And at this point, like my friends kind of start gathering around him, like trying to protect me. And then like I'm just kind of standing there. And I yelled back. I was like, "Listen, dude, it's a club. Everybody's bumping into everybody. I didn't just bump into you either. Like you bumped into me too. And you didn't say excuse me. And like even if you did, I wouldn't be able to hear you." And like we're screaming at each other because you can barely hear over the music. And he goes, "Step outside, step outside." And I was like, okay. So we went outside, and now we can kind of hear each other because the music's a lot quieter. And he's like, "So what are you trying to say to me in there, bro?" And I was like, "Nothing. I'm just letting you know, like, we bumped into each other. Like, yeah, sorry I didn't say excuse me, but you didn't either, and we wouldn't have hurt each other to begin with." And he's like, "I don't give a fuck, bro. I was raised right, and I say excuse me when I bump into somebody." And honestly, you know what? He had a point. I should have probably been like, "Yo, my bad," or "Excuse me." But I really just thought, like, we bumped into each other. That's what happens at clubs. You move forward and you keep walking. So maybe he had a point, but he was being super rude. So I was kind of giving him the same energy back. And I was just like, "Listen, dude, once again, it's a club. This shit happens a lot. So I'm going to leave now. Enjoy the rest of your night." And he starts trying to like get up in my face. And he's like, "I don't really like how you're talking to me." And before I have a chance to respond and like say anything, security noticed this and like saw that a fight was about to happen, or it looked like a fight was about to happen. And the security was like, "Hey, both of you, like, get out of here, leave." So yeah, I turned around with my friends and we started walking away from the club, and the other dude started walking back into the club. And when I turned around to like see if he'd went inside, I saw him flipping me off. Like he was throwing me the finger as he was walking back into the club. So I just thought to myself, like, wow, like what a dick. Like this dude like really didn't like me, whatever. So fast forward to the next day. I was on Instagram and one of Katie's friends took a photo of everybody at the club from the night before, and she tagged me in it. So I went on Instagram and I saw myself tagged in this photo and I liked it. And I look in the comments and I see a comment that says, "Not that douchebag on the left," with like a gross emoji, like a throwing up emoji. And I was the dude on the left. I was on the very left. I was next to Katie. And I was like, "Yo, wait, what? Like this guy's calling me a douchebag?" So I clicked the guy's profile and it's on private. But I can kind of see in the photo, like in the preview photo of his Instagram, the face of who it is. And it instantly hit me. I was like, yo, that's the dude. That's the dude from last night. Like, that's the guy at the club. That's the guy that tried to, like, go outside and start a problem. Like, that's him. Now, I only knew Katie for like a day at this point, so I didn't want to hit her up and be like, hey, who's this guy in your comment section? Because that's just not good. That's just a big red flag. So I left it alone. I thought, you know what? Maybe she knows him. Like, they're probably just friends. Like, LA, even though it's a big city, it's a small world and people all kind of know each other. So I thought, all right, like, they probably just know each other from the club. No big deal. So fast forward 2 days later. Now it's the day where I'm going to be hanging out with Katie, kicking it with her all day, and I was excited. We had a pretty cool day planned. We had plans to go get breakfast/lunch at this cafe near my apartment. And then after that, we were going to this like outdoor like vintage flea market spot that she wanted to hit and like go shopping at. So we went there. And then after that, we had plans to go see a movie. So literally, we were going to be kicking it for the whole day pretty much. And I was stoked because she was a cool girl. Now, there was really nothing out of the ordinary about the day, to be honest. The day was actually perfect. I feel like we had a really, really good first time hanging out. It's after the day. It's when the sun starts to set where this story really kicks off. So after we got done watching the movie, at this point, I think it was like 7:30 or 8 p.m., Katie invited me back to her house and asked me if I wanted to spend the night. To which I replied with a smile on my face, of course, I would love that. So now I'm excited, right? I'm like, okay, like there's this girl, we like each other, we just had like a really cool, like unofficial first date, and now I'm going to be hanging out at her house all night. Like, this is going to be a fun night, right? Now, as we're on the way back to her house, I asked her, I was like, do you live with anyone? Like, do you have any roommates or anything? And she was like, oh, I just live with my brother. Like, we've been living together for 2 years now. And I was like, oh, that's sick. So, yeah, I thought nothing of it. I thought, cool, like, she has a brother. Like, he's probably a cool dude. So, we get to her house, and they had a really nice house, by the way. Like, honestly, it felt too nice. Like, I feel like I didn't belong there. It was so fancy. But yeah, we pulled up to her house. We walked inside. She kind of gave me a little tour, showed me around the house. And it seemed like nobody was there. Like, she walked me through pretty much the entire house, and I didn't see anybody else. So her brother that she lived with must have not been home at the time. So after this, we go into her room. We're just watching some Netflix, kicking it. Not going to go into great detail, but I will say one thing led to another, and we had a very just great time. It was a good time, okay? And about an hour later, I had to go to the bathroom. So I was like, I'm going to go take a pee. I'll be right back. And I left her bed, and I walked out into the hallway with just my shorts on because I forgot to put my t-shirt back on. And when I walked out in the hallway and I went down to the bathroom door, she said it was the first door on the left. So I thought, okay. So I tried to open it and it didn't open. And I hear a voice behind the door go, occupied. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I hear this guy go, who is that? And I was like, my name's Austin. I'm just here hanging out with your sister. And he's like, huh? And then the doorknob turns and the door swings open. And it's the guy. It's literally the guy from the club that was like beefing with me. And we both look at each other with like this look in our eyes of, oh, I remember you. And in my head, I'm thinking like, yo, this is Katie's brother. Like, this is the dude she lives with. Like the one that I beefed with leaving the club yesterday. Like, this is crazy. But yeah, we were looking at each other with these looks of like, we remembered each other. But his look, like his face, he looked a lot more angry than I did. I think it's because he knew what me and Katie were just doing. So I just said, I was like, are you done with the bathroom? He's like, I'll be done in a minute. And he goes back in and he slams the door. And he's in there for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes. After that, he opens the bathroom door and he walks out of there. I go to walk in. We kind of had to like squeeze past each other. It was like a tight space. And he goes, excuse me. And I was like, yeah, all good. And I turn around after he said that and he's looking at me with like this smirk on his face. Like he just destroyed me or something by saying, excuse me. And this all goes back to the club. He was still mad because I didn't say excuse me when I bumped into him. And I just kind of chuckled at it. I thought it was funny that he was still mad about that. So I just laughed and I was like, whatever, dude. And he's just like, yeah, man, my sister sure knows how to pick 'em. And I was like, what is that supposed to mean? He's like, she just loves scumbags. And I was like, oh, I'm a scumbag. He's like, yeah, dude, a little bit. I don't think your parents raised you right. And I was like, you know what, dude? My parents raised me extremely right. I am very, very polite, just not to people like you. And he turns around and he starts walking away. And I don't know what had gotten into me on this day. I just felt like being petty. So I said, wait up, dude. And he turns around and he goes, what? And I go, don't worry. I'll say excuse me when I bump into your sister. Now, I knew there was a 50-50 chance after saying this that I was going to get hit. Or he was just going to completely eat what I said and be like really, really pissed off and go away. And I was really hoping it was the second option. Because I had a very good first date with his sister, and I didn't want to fuck that up by getting into a fight with her brother that she lived with. And when I tell you the face of rage that he had when I said this to him, he looked very angry. But for some reason, he didn't approach me, he didn't try and fight me, and he didn't get in my face like he did at the club. If I had to guess, it's probably because at the club he was drunk and like with his boys and probably had an ego and thought that he was untouchable. And now we were just one-on-one, both sober. And like he knows I'm with his sister kinda, so if he tried to fight me, that'd be a problem with them. So I think he just like had a lot of factors that he didn't want to put at risk. And he just kind of stood there and just gave me a dirty look for like 5-10 seconds. And then finally he just turned around and walked away. After this, I went in the bathroom, took a pee, left the bathroom, went back into his sister's room. And I was like, hey, you are never going to guess what just happened. And she goes, what? I was like, your brother came home and I met him. And it was not for the first time. I met him before. She's like, oh, you know him? Like, how do you know him? I was like, remember the club a few days ago? I bumped into him on the way out on accident. And he got really mad because I didn't say excuse me. And then we went outside and like almost fought, but we didn't, and we're good. And she starts laughing. She thought the whole thing was hilarious. And then she cooked her own brother. She was like, yeah, don't worry about him. He's harmless. He likes to act like he's hard when he gets some drinks in him, but he's not going to do shit. And I was like, damn. And she's like, yeah, seriously, like don't sweat it. So yeah, I'd say in the end, I definitely kind of checkmated him, you know, all because he's just mad I didn't say excuse me, which, you know, like I said, valid concern, but was it really worth all that? I don't know. But anyway, me and Katie continued to hang out for months and months after that, probably about 3 or 4 months. We never like officially dated because neither of us wanted anything serious at the time, but we definitely hung out a lot and like we're very close. And I saw her brother a lot more times, and every single time it was just as awkward as the first time. So yeah, needless to say, we never really got to liking each other. But yeah, guys, that is one of my favorite stories, and it was a very funny coincidence, and I thought you guys would enjoy it. Definitely a little petty, but I think it's a good story. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below, and subscribe if you're new. I will see you guys all later. Peace.
I'm in a bad mood, I can see it today. I remember all my friends and now I'm all that remains. I got some bad news.